Hi, it's Hank. Today I'm going to be changing the front brake pads on this 2014 Nissan Versa. A couple things to point out before we get started. I noticed that this wheel has anti-theft lug nuts on it, or one. So I've never had this wheel off before. Luckily, the tool was right where the dealership always leaves them, right in the glove compartment. So that's the first place to look when you need the tool to remove your anti-theft lug nuts. So it goes on there like that. Other thing, I'm going to be working on the front right wheel. So I'm going to be jacking the car up here. So I'm going to put a chock behind the back tire on the opposite corner. That way when I jack it up, the car doesn't roll away out from under the jack. We are going to be using a safety jack stand. Never trust your life to a jack. So first thing we'll do is we'll break loose these lug nuts before we lift the car off the ground, because you'll learn quickly that if you have the wheel up off the ground, especially your non-drivetrain wheel, so in this case it's front wheel drive, but if I were doing the back wheel, as soon as that gets off the ground, the wheel spins freely and I can't get my lug nuts off. This is a front wheel drive, so I wouldn't really have that problem, but it's a good habit to get into. Just break your lug nuts free. These are set by the factory, and you can see not very tight. I've got a pretty good size four-way wrench here, but not really super tight. I'll put them tighter than that when I put it back together. Okay, so now we'll jack it up, put the safety jack stand under it, pull the wheel off, see what we've got. When you're changing brakes, you're going to compress the wheel cylinders at some point before you put the new pads on. So I always take the cap off of the brake reservoir, because I'm going to be forcing more fluid back up into that reservoir, and I don't want to put pressure on that cap. Alright, I'm going to have to go higher just to get the safety stand in there. Okay. Now, there we go. Now if the jack fails, it'll land on that jack stand and not on me. Now, if you don't have a four-way lug wrench, they've got them everywhere. All your automotive parts stores, Walmart. Doesn't have to be a super duper high quality tool, but since they're such large, since lug nuts are so large, you don't have the problem you do with cheap wrenches, you know, turning off the corners of bolts. So anyway, if you don't have a four-way wrench, I suggest getting one. Makes everything easier when it comes to dealing with your wheels. Okay, pop that wheel off there, lay it over here. Now, get this caliper apart. What we do, there's a little bolt here and here. We'll take those out. This will come right apart. On this car, 2014 Nissan Versa, it's a 14mm bolt here. Get it on there. Oh, that was also not very tight at all from the factory. This wheel's never been off. These brakes have never been changed. Car's only got 40,000 miles on it. Well, 50,000 actually. Okay, take those bolts out now. I give this a tug. What I'm doing is I'm compressing the piston just a little bit, just so things come apart easier. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Now this is the piston that we need to compress. They make a little tool for that, which is super duper easy to use and really inexpensive. So I like to I've already changed the other side, so I've got one of the old pads. If I didn't have an old pad, I'd put a new pad here to push against. I'm not going to push hard enough to tear anything up, but so this is the way that tool works. Slide it in there and you crank, and all that travel on that piston is going to go back all the way to till it bottoms out. Be careful you don't pinch this rubber boot here. Okay, bottomed out, it's good. Tool comes out. Okay, so the pads are still here in place. These have a little metal clip. The new ones came with a new clip, so I can discard this. There's little pinholes on either end, and then the pads themselves just slide out of these clips like so. That one's pretty wore out, much further, and I've been getting into the metal, meaning no more pad left. See? Back one's the same way. Now this one's got an extra clip on it. So we put the new pads on. The one with the clip goes in the back. Pads toward the disc. Rotates right into the clip, snaps in place. You can see better here on the front one. So pad toward the rotor. You see it just kind of clips right in there. All right, now new little spring clips. There's a little hole here, a little hole there. One more. Okay. Now I've already compressed the piston, so I just want to make sure I don't coil up my brake line. It should just slide right back on here like so. Put the two little bolts back in. It's finger tight first. Alright, change my ratchet over to Tighten, righty tighty. Just get them both snug, and then we'll do a final tightening. Like I said, these weren't real tight, but I'm going to get them tighter than that. Tighter than they were. There we go. Okay, that's the brakes. Just put the wheel back on. Now, one thing. Anytime I've compressed that piston now, so it's all the way back. So don't just hop in your car after you change the brakes and take off down the road, because watch this. Brake pedal. Went all the way to the floor. It will the first time, because I'm putting fluid back behind that piston. Now a little bit higher that time. Now I've got a full pedal. So yeah, Anytime you change your brakes, don't jump in the car and take off. Pump that pedal back up first. Make sure I'm not running over. I'm just above the max full line there, but that's fine. Put the cap back on, and I'll just put the wheel back on, and that'll be it. Now, since my pads were not totally wore out, my rotors are not in too bad a shape. You can take these to your auto parts store and they will turn them down on a lathe and get you back to a factory finish. You can do that depending on your minimum thickness allowed here, but they'll have the information whether some rotors are allowed to be turned, some are not. If you wear your pads all the way out, behind this pad there's rivets, all kinds of things that just dig terrible trenches in your rotors, and if you put it back together like that, it'll only last 6 months or so. You'll be changing the brakes again. So normally for me, these rotors would be pretty cheap. I don't know, I didn't price them, but I could probably get 2 front rotors and pads, for less than $200, and that's way cheaper than if I take it to a auto store or like a Meineke or somewhere like that. They'd charge me 3 times that much to change these brakes. So I can put brand new rotors on, still be cheaper than having someone else do it. So that's my take. That's what I do. In this case, these rotors are fine. It's a really lightweight car. Like I said, it's got 50,000 miles on it. The brakes are just getting changed for the first time. This should last me another 40 or 50,000 miles. That's how that works.